This story is very meaningful. Everyone should hear it. Listen to Brian tell the story. My name is Lila Harper, a 30-year-old flight attendant with a restless soul and a hidden dream of becoming a published writer. I've spent my life soaring above the clouds, chasing freedom in the endless skies, but lately, my feet have been dragged back to earth by a nightmare I never saw coming. I'm not the type to crave the picket fence life, kids, a minivan, the whole suburban package. It's never been me. Maybe it's because my mom died giving birth to me and my identical twin sister Stacy, leaving our dad to raise us alone with a heart full of grief and a house full of silence. Stacy, though, she's always been the opposite, dreaming of nurseries and baby names since we were kids, her eyes lighting up at the thought of a family. Me? I'd rather bury my nose in a book or lose myself in the hum of a plane engine. But everything changed the night my brother-in-law, Jeff, grabbed my hair outside a crowded restaurant, his voice a low growl in my ear, "Don't you effing walk away from me." That moment, his fingers tangled in my scalp, the sharp sting of pain, the gasps of strangers. It's when I knew this wasn't just a family spat anymore. It was a descent into something dark, something I couldn't escape. It all started a few weeks ago, on a quiet Friday night in my cozy little apartment on the outskirts of Chicago. I was sprawled on the couch, a glass of Pinot Noir in hand, half watching Modern Family reruns when the doorbell buzzed. I wasn't expecting anyone. Mike, my boyfriend of 3 years, was at his garage tinkering with some old Mustang, and Dad was probably nursing a beer at his bar downtown. I opened the door, and there was Stacy, my mirror image, her face streaked with tears. Her blonde hair, exactly like mine, was a mess, and her green eyes, usually so bright, were dull with desperation. She didn't wait for an invitation, just pushed past me and collapsed onto the couch, clutching her knees like she was trying to hold herself together. "Lila," she said, her voice trembling, "you're the only one who can save me. I need you to carry a baby for me." I froze, the wine glass hovering halfway to my lips. "What?" I managed, my brain scrambling to catch up. "You mean surrogacy?" She nodded, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Yes, me and Jeff. We've tried everything. IVF, hormones, you name it. I can't do it, Lila. My body won't let me. But you're me. We're identical. It'd be our DNA, mine and Jeff's, in you. Please." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I set the glass down, my hands shaking slightly. Not from fear, not yet, but from the sheer weight of what she was asking. "Stacy, you know I don't want kids," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I've never wanted that. I get why this matters to you, but I can't. I'd give you my eggs if that's what you need. I'd do that in a heartbeat, but carrying a baby? No." Her face twisted, and before I could brace myself, she was on her feet, her voice rising to a scream. "You're jealous," she spat, her cheeks flushing red. "You've always been spiteful, Lila. This is nothing to you, just 9 months, and you won't even do it for me, your own sister?" I stood there, stunned, as she stormed over to the mantel and grabbed the framed photo of us, 6 years old, gap-toothed and grinning at some long-forgotten fare. She hurled it to the floor, the glass shattering across my hardwood. "If you can't do this one thing," she said, her voice breaking, "you're no sister to me." Then she was gone, the door slamming behind her, leaving me staring at the wreckage. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying her words, the fury in her eyes. Stacy and I had always been close. 2 halves of the same whole, Dad used to say. After Mom died, it was just us and him, scraping by on his mechanic's salary until he won a massive settlement from the hospital for their screw-up during her delivery. That money put us through college, gave us trust funds that meant I didn't have to worry about cash, even as a flight attendant with erratic hours. Stacy, though, she never worked. After college, she became Jeff's stay-at-home girlfriend, then wife, pouring all her energy into building the perfect life. I knew she'd been trying for a baby for years, sinking thousands into treatments after a car accident left her unable to carry. 1 miscarriage, countless failures, and now this. But asking me to be her surrogate? It felt like she was trying to rewrite my life to fit her story. A week later, Dad insisted we all get together for dinner at his place, a modest ranch house with a big TV for his beloved football games. I walked in with Mike, his arm slung casually around my shoulders, and found Stacy and Jeff already there. Jeff, 35, tall and broad with a salesman's charm, gave me a look I couldn't read, something between a smirk and a glare. Stacy barely met my eyes, stirring a pot of chili like it was her lifeline. Dad clapped his hands, his gruff voice cutting through the tension. "All right, everybody, sit. We're fixing this mess before the game tomorrow night. Somebody talk. I took a deep breath, setting my fork down. Stacy, I've been thinking about what you asked. I need to know exactly what you want from me. What's it mean to be your surrogate? And do you even know a doctor might not let me do it? I've never had a kid. She looked up, her eyes wide with hope. Are you saying yes? No, I said quickly. I just need more info. Her face fell, but before she could answer, Jeff leaned forward, his voice sharp. She's saying she's dying inside, Lila. 5 years of failure, and you're too selfish to help. We've got a plan. There's a clinic, a center of excellence. You and I go in, act like a couple, get you inseminated, then transfer you to her OB/GYN. Simple. I felt my stomach twist. Act like a couple? I echoed, glancing at Mike, whose jaw tightened. Jeff, that's insane, Dad cut in, his voice firm. Hold on. Lila's right. This sounds like a bad idea. No doctor's going to sign off on that, and I'm not letting my girls get tangled up in some shady mess. Jeff slammed his hand on the table, making the plates rattle. Don't you dare guilt-trip my wife with your stupid questions, Frank. Talk to your self-centered daughter about why she won't help her sister. The room exploded. Mike shot to his feet, yelling, Watch your mouth, Jeff. Stacy burst into tears, clutching my arm. Please, Lila, I'm begging you, just do this for me. I yanked away, my heart pounding, fear and anger crashing together. I'd switch places with you if I could, Stacy, I said, my voice shaking. But I can't. I won't die for this. Jeff's face darkened, and he stormed out, dragging Stacy with him. She paused on the porch, her voice a whisper. His family, they call me a murderer because of the miscarriage. Jeff says he needs to see our kid, needs it to be us. He's so excited about you carrying it, Lila. Please. I stared at her, my throat tight. This isn't normal, Stacy. You need to see that. But she just shook her head and ran to the car, where Jeff honked impatiently. The next few days were a blur. I threw myself into work, hopping flights to Dallas and Seattle, trying to outrun the guilt gnawing at me. Every takeoff felt like a temporary escape, the roar of the engines drowning out Stacy's voice in my head, her screams, her tears, the shattered glass of that photo frame still sharp in my memory. Stacy sent me texts, pictures of her old vision boards, diary pages from when we were teens, all screaming that I was ruining her dream. You're my sister, Lila, one read, alongside a faded drawing of a crib she'd sketched at 15. Why won't you help me? I'd stare at my phone in the galley between serving coffee, my chest tight, fingers hovering over a reply I never sent. Mike stayed out of it, saying, It's your call, babe, but I'm here. I appreciated that, his steady hands, his quiet strength, but it didn't stop the unease creeping up my spine, a cold prickle that followed me from gate to gate. On the red-eye back from Seattle, I slumped into my jump seat, the cabin lights dim, passengers snoring under their blankets. My coworker, Mara, a wiry, sharp-tongued brunette who'd been flying longer than I'd been alive, nudged me with her elbow. You look like hell, Harper, she said, popping a piece of gum. What's eating you? I hesitated, then spilled it. Stacy's plea, Jeff's creepy insistence, the fight at Dad's. Mara's eyes narrowed, her gum chewing slowing. That brother-in-law of yours sounds like bad news, she said. I've seen guys like that, control freaks. You watch yourself, all right? My ex was a piece of work too. Started with guilt trips, ended with a restraining order. Thanks, Mara, I muttered, forcing a smile. But her words stuck, burrowing into my brain as the plane descended into O'Hare. When I got home at dawn, I crashed on the couch, too wired to sleep, replaying Jeff's voice, act like a couple, and Stacy's desperate pleas. My phone buzzed again, a blurry photo of us at 10, braiding each other's hair with the caption, Remember when you loved me? I tossed it aside, my stomach churning. That afternoon, I met Mike at his garage, a grimy, oil-scented haven where he spent his days rebuilding classics. He was under a '67 Camaro, wrench in hand, when I walked in. Hey, I said, leaning against the toolbox. You got a sec? He slid out, wiping grease off his forearms, his hazel eyes soft but searching. Always for you. What's up? Stacy won't let it go, I said, pacing. She's texting me nonstop, and Jeff, I don't know, Mike. Something's off. I keep feeling like someone's watching me. He frowned, setting the wrench down. You think Jeff's tailing you? Maybe, I admitted, my voice small. I saw a black car last night. Could have been nothing, but... We'll figure it out, he said, pulling me into a hug. His shirt smelled like motor oil and sweat, and for a moment I let myself melt into him, the tension easing. I can put cameras up at your place. My buddy Pete's got some extras from his shop. Pete? I asked, pulling back. The guy with the mullet? Mike grinned. Yep, owes me a favor. I'll call him. Pete showed up an hour later, a lanky guy in a flannel shirt, his mullet bouncing as he hauled a box of security cams into my apartment. Heard you got a creep problem, he said, chewing on a toothpick. This'll catch 'em. Motion sensors, night vision, the works. Had a client ditch these after a divorce. Ex-wife didn't like being watched. Perfect, I said, half laughing despite myself. Pete and Mike spent the evening rigging them up, bantering about carburetors while I made coffee, trying to shake the dread pooling in my gut. But that night, alone in my bed, I jolted awake to my phone pinging, a grainy alert from the camera app. I opened it, heart hammering, and saw a figure in a hoodie lurking near my carport, face shadowed. The timestamp read 2:17 a.m. I zoomed in, but the image was too dark. Jeff? Some random prowler? I called Mike, my voice shaking. Someone's outside. Stay put, he said, already grabbing his keys. I'm coming. He got there in 15 minutes, headlights cutting through the dark, but the figure was gone. We checked the footage again, nothing but a vague shape disappearing into the alley. Could be kids, Mike said, though he didn't sound convinced. I'll crash here tonight. I nodded, grateful, but sleep didn't come. The next morning, I drove to Dr. Evelyn Hart's office, needing answers. She'd been Stacy's fertility doc for years, and if anyone knew the truth behind this mess, it was her. I found her at a clinic downtown, her white coat crisp, her face lined with fatigue. She ushered me into a small exam room, closing the door with a click. Lila, she said, her voice low, I figured you'd show up eventually. What's going on? Stacy wants me to be her surrogate, I said, cutting to the chase. Jeff's pushing it hard. I need to know why she can't carry. What really happened? Evelyn sighed, rubbing her temples. It's the accident. You know that part. 5 years ago, head-on collision. Your dad and Stacy were up front, took the brunt. Her uterus was shredded, scar tissue everywhere. We tried IVF, egg retrieval, but her body rejected it all. She's barren, Lila. Physically, it's over. And Jeff? I pressed, leaning forward. He's acting like I'm the solution. Her eyes flickered with something. Fear, maybe. Jeff's intense. After the miscarriage, he got fixated on DNA, on his legacy. When I told him Stacy's options were gone, he asked about you, said you're identical, like it's some magic fix. I warned him surrogacy's not that simple, but he wouldn't hear it. Kept calling me, showing up unannounced. I had to threaten security to get him out. Jesus, I whispered, my skin prickling. He's unhinged. Be careful, she said, her voice urgent. I've seen obsession before, it doesn't end well. I left her office rattled, the city noise buzzing in my ears as I replayed her warning. On the drive home, I spotted it again. That black car, weaving through traffic a few lengths back. My hands tightened on the wheel, pulse racing. I took a detour, weaving through side streets, and lost it, or so I thought. When I pulled into my complex, my phone buzzed. You can't run forever. Unknown number. I sat there frozen, staring at the screen until Mike's truck rumbled up beside me. You okay? He asked, climbing out, his brow furrowed. No, I said, showing him the text. This is Jeff, I know it. He cursed under his breath, scanning the lot. We're telling your dad, and maybe the cops. Not yet, I said, stubbornness flaring. I need proof. That night, I stayed at Mike's, his spare room a mess of car manuals and gym clothes. I barely slept, jumping at every creak, every distant car horn. The next day, Dad called me over for football, a Thursday ritual we'd kept since I was a kid. I walked into his house, the smell of chili hitting me, and saw Stacy on the couch, her eyes red. Jeff hovered near the kitchen, his smile too tight, too practiced. Glad you made it, Dad said, clapping my shoulder. We're sorting this tonight. Dinner was a minefield. I tried asking Stacy questions. What's the surrogacy process? What's the plan? But Jeff cut in, his voice sharp. She needs you, Lila. Stop making it complicated. Mike bristled beside me, and Dad finally snapped, Enough, Jeff. This ain't right. Jeff exploded, calling me selfish, and Stacy sobbed, begging me to say yes. I bolted up, shouting, I'd rather die than do this, and ran out, Mike on my heels. Outside, Stacy caught me alone. His mom, she says I murdered her grandkid, she whispered, tears streaming. Jeff's desperate. He thinks you're the fix. He's sick, I said, my voice hard. You need to leave him. She shook her head and ran back to him. That night, the black car followed me again, closer this time. I called Mike, panicked, and he met me at home, but not before I found my tires slashed, glass glittering on the pavement. Pete's cameras caught it. A hooded guy, tire iron in hand, but no clear face. "That's no kid," Mike said, jaw tight. "That's personal." The next morning I met Mara for coffee before my shift. She listened, her face darkening. "You need backup," she said. "My cousin Tony, he's a bouncer, big guy. I'll send him your way if this gets worse." "Thanks," I said, but the fear was already sinking deeper. I didn't know it then, but worse was coming, fast. Jeff wasn't just watching, he was planning. The next few days were a blur. I threw myself into work, hopping flights to Dallas and Seattle, trying to outrun the guilt gnawing at me. Every takeoff felt like a temporary escape, the roar of the engines drowning out Stacy's voice in my head, her screams, her tears, the shattered glass of that photo frame still sharp in my memory. Stacy sent me texts, pictures of her old vision boards, diary pages from when we were teens, all screaming that I was ruining her dream. "You're my sister, Lila," one read, alongside a faded drawing of a crib she'd sketched at 15. "Why won't you help me?" I'd stare at my phone in the galley between serving coffee, my chest tight, fingers hovering over a reply I never sent. Mike stayed out of it, saying, "It's your call, babe, but I'm here." I appreciated that, his steady hands, his quiet strength, but it didn't stop the unease creeping up my spine, a cold prickle that followed me from gate to gate. Back in Chicago, I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on me. It started small, a black car idling too long near my apartment, a shadow ducking behind a dumpster when I glanced out my window. Pete's cameras caught glimpses, a hooded figure, too blurry to identify, circling my carport at odd hours. I showed Mike the footage, my hands trembling as I clutched my coffee mug. "That's no coincidence," he said, his voice low, his jaw tight. "We need to do something." "Like what?" I asked, frustration bubbling up. "Call the cops and say, hey, some guy in a hoodie might be Jeff?" "Start there," he said, pulling out his phone. "I'm texting Pete. He knows a guy, Tony, bouncer at some dive bar, big dude. We'll get him to keep an eye out." Tony rolled up the next day, a mountain of a man with a buzz cut and knuckles scarred from too many fights. He leaned against Mike's truck, arms crossed, his voice a gravelly rumble. "Pete says you got a stalker. That your brother-in-law?" "Probably," I said, wrapping my arms around myself. "He's pissed I won't play Baby Factory for him and my sister." Tony grunted, cracking his knuckles. "Seen his type. Control freaks turn nasty fast. I'll swing by nights, scare him off. You see him, you call me." "Thanks," I said, a flicker of relief cutting through the dread. But it didn't last. That night I woke to my phone buzzing, a text from an unknown number. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." My heart slammed against my ribs. I forwarded it to Mike, who slept on my couch, and he bolted upright, cursing. "That's it," he said. "We're going to your dad's tomorrow, all of us." Dinner at Dad's was a disaster waiting to happen. Stacy sat across from me, her eyes puffy, picking at her chili. Jeff lounged beside her, his smirk sharp enough to cut glass. Dad clapped his hands, his voice booming. "All right, enough silence. We're fixing this before the game tomorrow. Lila, start." I swallowed hard, setting my spoon down. "Stacy, I need to know what you're asking. Surrogacy. How's it work? And Jeff, what's with the act like a couple crap? You know I've never had a kid. Doctors might not even let me." Stacy's face lit up, hope flashing. "So you'll do it?" "No," I said, firm but shaky. "I need answers." Jeff leaned forward, his voice a hiss. "She's dying inside, Lila. 5 years of nothing, and you're too selfish to help. We've got a clinic lined up. You and me go in, get it done, transfer you to her doc. Easy." "Easy?" I snapped, my voice rising. "You're insane." Dad cut in, his tone hard. "Hold up, Jeff. This ain't right. No doc's gonna greenlight that, and I'm not watching my girls get dragged into some half-baked scheme." Jeff slammed his fist on the table, the bowls rattling. "Don't guilt-trip my wife, Frank. Talk to your precious daughter about why she's screwing us over." Mike stood, his chair scraping back. "Watch it, Jeff." Stacy grabbed my arm, sobbing. "Please, Lila, just do it." I yanked free, panic clawing my throat. "I'd switch places with you if I could," I shouted, "but I can't die for this." I ran outside, Mike behind me, the cold air biting my face. Stacy followed, grabbing me on the porch. "His mom calls me a murderer," she whispered, tears streaming. "The miscarriage, it broke him. He says you're our only shot, Lila. He's so excited about it." "He's sick," I said, my voice trembling. "You need to see that." She shook her head and ran back to Jeff, who honked the horn like a petulant kid. After that, the stalking got worse. I'd see the black car everywhere, outside the airport, trailing me to Mike's, even parked near Dad's bar one night. Texts poured in. "You owe us. Stop running. I'll get what I want." I showed them to Dr. Evelyn when I cornered her again at her clinic, my nerves frayed to threads. "He's losing it," she said, her voice tight. After Stacy's last treatment failed, he started asking about illegal clinics, backroom stuff. I cut him off, but he's not rational anymore. "Great," I muttered, my stomach sinking. "What do I do?" "Document everything," she said, "and stay safe. He's not just desperate, he's dangerous." That night I stayed at Mike's, but the cameras at my place pinged again. Footage showed a guy, taller, broader than the last time, smashing my car window with a tire iron, then slashing the tires. "That's Jeff," Mike said, his voice dark. "I'd bet my life on it." "We need more," I said, stubbornness warring with fear. "Cops won't move without proof." Tony started patrolling my street, his hulking shadow a comfort, but Jeff, or whoever, was slippery. Then came the grocery store. I was grabbing coffee beans, my mind drifting when a hand brushed my back. I spun, and there he was, Jeff, his eyes glinting, his smile oily. "Lila," he said, "we need to talk." "Get away," I choked out, stepping back. He raised his hands, feigning innocence. "Just want to apologize. Got heated at dinner." "Leave," I said, louder, my voice cracking. Shoppers glanced over and he backed off, muttering, sorry, before slipping away. I stood there, shaking, clutching the coffee bag like a lifeline, until Mike picked me up, his face pale when I told him. The next night, it escalated. I got home late from a flight, exhausted, and found my apartment trashed. My espresso machine in pieces, mugs shattered, my mattress slashed. Scrawled on the wall in black marker, "You're mine." A text followed. "Next time it's you." I packed a bag and ran to Mike's, sobbing into his chest as he held me tight. "We're done waiting," he said, his voice hard. "Cops now." I called Detective Carla Ruiz, Mara's hookup from her ex's case. She met us at Mike's, a short, no-nonsense woman with dark eyes and a notepad. "Show me everything," she said. I handed over the texts, the footage, the photos of my wrecked place. She nodded, scribbling fast. "He's bold. We'll set a trap. Use you as bait." "Bait?" Mike snapped, stepping forward. "No way." "I'll do it," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I want him gone." 2 days later, Carla's team tailed me in an unmarked car. I drove to a diner, nerves electric, and sure enough, Jeff's black sedan slid into view. He followed me to a gas station, then a park. Close, too close. I parked, hands trembling, and he stepped out, striding toward me. "Lila!" he yelled, his voice unhinged. "We're not done." Carla's guys swarmed him before he reached me, pinning him to the asphalt as he thrashed, screaming, "She's mine! You can't take her!" They hauled him off, his phone spilling texts, hundreds, some to me, some to Stacy, ranting about our baby and fixing her betrayal. Stacy called that night, crying. "I saw him," she said. "He's been lying, planning this for months. I'm so sorry, Lila. I'm leaving him." She moved in with Dad, filed for divorce, but Jeff's fate hung open. The DA charged him, stalking, vandalism, assault, but his lawyer's fighting, claiming insanity. He's out on bail, vanished, and every creak in Mike's apartment makes me jump, wondering if he's watching. We're engaged now, Mike and me, a small ring glinting on my finger, a promise of something good. Stacy's healing, slowly, her laugh creeping back during football nights at Dad's. But Jeff's shadow lingers, a ghost I can't shake. I've learned family's worth fighting for, but not at the cost of yourself. Some ties cut deeper than blood, and some wounds don't heal. What do you think? Did I do right standing my ground? Drop your thoughts below. I could use the perspective.